Well, right next door to the Billy Jones Wildcat Railroad is the Carousel that's named after another gentleman. And I've got a third gentleman with me now, George Shannon. And it says on your name tag, the Carousel Cowboy, and underneath it you have the railroad gear on. So
it's a dual shirt.
Bill Mason, he's the name of the Carousel. And who is Bill Mason?
Bill Mason was an electrical contractor here in town for years and years. He and a group of other people were instrumental in putting the railroad together, but they found this carousel in a warehouse in Redwood City.
Really? And what year are we talking about?
We're talking back in the late 80s.
Okay.
It was really in bad shape. The warehouse had broken windows and a leaky roof. Most of the horses, when you come into the carousel, you'll see a horse with no paint, a broken leg, an ear missing. They almost all look like that.
Oh my goodness.
It took about 10 years to restore the horses, put them back together, repaint them. And it was total community effort.
I mean, the paint is amazing. I mean, has this been repainted since, or is this the original paint job when it was placed here?
No, they've been repainted. We have two painting rooms. Two young ladies come down weekly, and when you get through, I'll show you what they're doing, where they strip down the horses down to bare wood, prime them, paint them, and then we've got two spare horses, so we're able to take one off, paint it, and put a spare one on, and switch them all around until we get them all done.
What's the difference between a carousel and a merry-go-round? Is there a difference?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is a difference.
I feel a story coming on.
Well, there's a couple of iterations. One is that when we stole the idea from England, we made it go the other direction so the lawyers wouldn't get involved. But that's not necessarily the case. Traditionally, a carousel goes clockwise.
All right, and the horses are all going that way?
Like if you go to the merry-go-round in Santa Cruz, you grab the ring with your right hand, which means the horses are going counterclockwise. So that's one of the differences.
All right.
A second one, these are all subtle differences, and the names get interchanged, but mostly carousels only have horses and/or a carriage.
Oh, and we're all horses.
We're all horses.
Where did this carousel actually come from?
This was built in Bristol, England in 1910, and it was built for the 1915 Pan-Pacific Exposition. When I kind of got involved with it, I thought, well, if they built it in 1910, they didn't use it till 1915, where was it? Well, it took a year and a half to build and a year and a half to get around the Horn of South America because the Panama Canal wasn't open yet.
Wow.
So it came to LA on a boat, got put on a train, and got to San Francisco just in time for the opening of the Pan-Pacific Exposition. After that, I think the exposition was almost a year. It wound up in a small traveling circus. So this would get taken apart every 2 weeks, put on a train and moved to the next town, put back together in a field. And it's interesting, it sits on a wagon.
All right, I see that.
So they would use elephants or horses to pull it out in the middle of a field. When we built this building,
Which was built just for this?
Yes, the town engineer got together with I think we poured 66 yards of concrete into the base, which would be, it used to sit on 4 inches of tires on a mud field.
Sure.
So we kind of overbuilt it. But,
and did you pay for this, or did we just take it because nobody wanted it?
No, they bought it. I think it wasn't very much at the time because it was in bad shape. But there was a group, Bill Mason, was involved in putting it together, who raised the funds and brought it down here. It was originally stored at Campbell High School, the old Campbell High School. And then there was a big deal when they put it on trucks and dragged it down here through town, so everybody saw it coming.
Now, you mentioned the Pan-Pacific Festival. Am I saying that correctly?
Carnival. Yeah, it was a world exposition.
Okay. Some of the pieces, some of the names, I think, some of the signage from the Billy Jones Wildcat Railroad also came from there, I believe.
The cars did.
The cars did.
Yes.
I knew it was something big.
Yeah.
Something important.
If you sat in the car, you stepped over a cast iron plate that said LLM. Louis M. McDermott was the fellow who designed the railroad for the Pan Pacific Exposition. Our cars came from there. The other engines went to the Swanton Pacific Railway, which was part of Al Smith's legacy to the state of California. Al Smith was the fellow who started Orchard Supply.
Orchard Supply, God bless him.
Yeah,
God bless him.
So,
Now, the top, it's circus paintings on top. So was that intentional? Are those paintings new?
they're all, the original, they're called the rounding boards, were cloth, and they just deteriorated.
Oh.
So when people came down and when they put announcements in the paper and word of mouth, people decided to come down and all volunteer to help. They said, we asked them, can you paint? And they said, yes. And they said, what? He said, anything as long as it's this big, because it has to go there. So the circus theme was really part of what the horses, or circus horses. So almost all of the painting was all done by volunteers. One of my old professors,
Wonderful.
One of my old professors at San Jose State did one of these, but everyone came down and they just, all of the paintings all the way around are all done by volunteers.
Wonderful. So can we pretend we have a conductor for the carousel
No,
and say, let's run it?
we just have an operator.
An operator, okay.
Yeah.
Operator, turn this carousel on.
You got it? You can tell the old and the new horses that have been painted.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Now that you say that, yeah.
Now there are two, when we got it, we were able to put together all but two of the horses. There are two fiberglass horses on there. Let's see, that gray one, there's a fiber, and then one next to it is a fiberglass, because there weren't enough parts and pieces to put enough horses together. Some of these were taken and amalgamated into complete horses.
Yeah. That's amazing. Just amazing.
They have been polishing all the brass.
Oh,
which is,
yeah. Unbelievable. Billy Jones, did you know him?
Yes.
Tell me about him. And how did you know him?
When we moved to Los Gatos, we lived right off of Lark Avenue. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Lark Avenue didn't go across the creek. So when we heard the locomotive going, we'd have to get in the car, drive down Lark, up Bascom, which is the boulevard, cross Blossom Hill to Winchester, down Winchester, and then try and find a place to park.
Yeah.
But as soon as they put the bridge over the creek, it was no problem.
So you used to take your family out there for the Sunday train rides?
Well, the first four, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And he would just be hanging out. What would Billy be doing during these train rides? Was he the conductor, or was he just sitting there patting everybody?
He was the engineer.
The engineer. Isn't the engineer the conductor?
No.
No. What's the engineer?
He drives the train.
Okay. And the conductor is the one who takes the tickets.
The conductor the conductor runs the train.
Runs the train.
The engineer won't start unless the conductor says he can.
All aboard?
That's right.
Okay, got it. So Billy Jones, you wouldn't hear him say all aboard because he was waiting for the
he
conductor.
was waiting for someone to tell him. Yeah. So.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Heart of gold.
He was. He was really old by the time we started going over. We didn't move here till, well, we're fairly new. We moved here in '64. So
That's not fairly new, but okay.
1964.
Yeah.
Not. But as the kids grew up, we kind of lost track of it, and then it moved down here. When the grandkids came along, I was here all the time, and that's when I was invited to be on the board of directors.
Betty would have loved the idea of a carousel. Or
Yes,
not.
Yeah. He was gone. He was gone in 68.
He was gone, yeah. But it's a circle here. It's just fun. Go on the train, go on the carousel.
Well, actually, people, instead of waiting in line for the train, they ride the carousel and then get in line.
Yeah, the train is very popular.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this is really a beautiful, beautiful carousel, and really hasn't gotten much attention. I've, lived in the Bay Area most of my life.
You didn't know
and
about it?
I knew about it, but I didn't know the story.
Oh, okay.
So there's so much more talk about the other carousels. This is a beauty.
I just talked to a fellow back in Michigan. They are having the National Carousel Association meetings here in the Bay Area, and we're going to be featured along with Tilden Park here in Santa Cruz. They're doing, their theme is ancient carousels, which disqualifies.
It sure does.
Great America is not. That's fairly new. Disneyland is new. They're all,
Yeah, yeah.
So since this is over 100 years old.
It's got its own character, yeah?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for coming by and doing this.